the team's done it again. They've stepped out 40 meters from the Wolf vein, and they've expanded it with an extremely high grade hit.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics, and I am joined today by one of my true favorites in the silver industry, and that is, of course, Shawn Khunkhun of Dolly Varden Silver, who, Shawn, first of all, it was nice to see in person last month at the Rick Rule Symposium, and I know you gave us a little bit of an update on some of the things that have been going on with Dolly back then, although did mention we had some drill results upcoming, and sure enough, the drill results are out, and I can imagine you're quite proud of what you found at the step out drilling with the headline there of the 1,091 grams per ton silver over 9.38 meters at the Wolf vein, which again, you talked a little bit about back in July, but Shawn, welcome on in, and perhaps you could talk about the drill results here with a high grade of silver, and then we'll dig into a little bit more about how this has come about over the past couple of years, but perhaps you could start there.
Yeah, no, listen, we've the team's done it again. They've stepped out 40 meters from the Wolf vein, and they've expanded it with an extremely high grade hit. And what looks like is happening here, Chris, as we continue to chase this deposit down plunge, grades and widths are intensifying. So it's getting richer and it's getting wider. It's not uncommon for these high grade epithermal deposits to have a kilo of silver, but it's typically over like half a meter, a third of a meter. It's quite rare to have 1,000 grams per ton over almost 10 meters. It's truly spectacular. So really, really proud of the team. If you scroll down a little bit more and you stop right there, you can see it says on the left-hand side there's sedimentary rock cover, and then on the right side it says Hazelton volcanic rock. Now, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm just surrounded by some brilliant ones. And the way I understand this is the silver is not being deposited into the sediments. It's being deposited into the volcanics. But it's within that contact of those two where this is expanding and extending down plunge. So I don't want to use the term predictability, but I can't think of a better word to describe the team's ability to continue to chase this system down plunge. So as long as we stay close to that contact, we've been able to demonstrate a kilometer now of strike length. And so the numbers speak for themselves. We've got high grade silver. We've got it up in a part of Northwest BC that's been producing gold and silver for the last 100 years. There's been about 1.2 billion ounces of silver discovered up in Northwest BC in the Golden Triangle, and we've taken a past producing mine, one with a really rich history. It was the richest silver mine in the British Empire, Canada's third largest silver mine. We've taken that rich history and we have brought in a team, some capital, some good science, and we're finding a lot more around the past producing mine.
Yeah, and certainly you mentioned Canada in there, which I think is helpful, especially at this particular time where we've seen a lot of challenges in different regions, mining, especially with some of the mine shutdowns. And Shawn, you had some native silver in there as well. Perhaps you could touch on that. And also for some people who might not be familiar with what native silver is, it'd be great to hear more about that.
Yeah, listen, the nice thing is the native silver we're finding is it's not only is it extremely high grade, but it's you're not going to have to go through the same process when you go. Like we could actually direct ship this stuff, right? We could, and that's what makes this very, very, very special. But it's extremely high grade, it's rare, and it just gives you extremely good concentrations in the rock.
Okay. And also on the drill results there, mentioned that that's 8,000 meters of a 25,000 meter program. You also have some assays pending. if you could fill us in about that and perhaps the timeline of what we might be seeing there.
Yeah, listen, the way we grow, the way we create value to our shareholders is our business model is all about adding mineral inventory. You said to me offline, we should have an ounce clock on our homepage, kind of like a debt clock, right? A couple of years ago we had 44 million ounces in all categories. Today we've added 100 million. We've got 143 million in all categories. So on a silver equivalent basis, half silver, half gold. The catalyst to drive future growth. We put up drill results yesterday and our stock jumped up 10%. We've got more drilling to report. We have used something called directional drilling, Chris. So we drilled a mother hole and then we splayed off some daughter holes, and we've got results pending from the daughter holes in different directions. So we know we've got an extremely high concentration of silver in one part of this deposit. What are the surrounding holes going to show us? So we've got results that are coming out imminently. We've drilled about 20,000 meters so far. 8,000 of those meters, as you stated, have gone into the Wolf vein. We've got other parts of the project that we're also looking at. So what I want your viewers to think about here is you've got this highly prospective area. We've got a 15-kilometer trend that's mineralized, and every 1.4 kilometers, we're finding a new deposit. So in June, we put out results from Chance and from Moose showing that we found more of these veins as we go into the center of the valley. And then we've got the Torbrit deposit, which was produced about 20 million ounces of silver at half a kilo. And then where we've put a lot of our focus this year is into the Wolf, because we think Wolf can be the next Torbrit. Torbrit was a 50 million ounce deposit. There's still 35 million ounces left intact. And then where we have 3 rigs turning, Chris, is just up at the Homestake target. So at the end of last season, what's happening is in the Golden Triangle, what starts as a silver deposit sometimes turns into a really big gold system. And what we found last year is as we moved away from the silver rich south, as we got up north, we tagged a brand new gold zone. So, it was caked with visible gold. We had 12 and a half meters of 79 grams of gold. And so we're chasing that exciting gold discovery. So we're adding silver, we're adding gold, we're well funded. We've got about 14 million in the bank. We've got some incredible shareholders like Hecla, Eric Sprott. Institutions make up 50% of the company. And, like I said, it's very, very, very difficult to find pure silver. And, Dolly Varden has demonstrated, 3 years in a row now that, we're coming out with some of the best results in the Golden Triangle.
Yeah, and Shawn, what would the thought process be in terms of an updated resource? I know that's not top of the list right now, but perhaps you could talk about that. And also from the drilling you've already done, I believe there's some ounces that would already be added, let alone from the additional drilling. But any thoughts on updated resource that you can comment on?
Yeah, listen, I think that a resource estimate is a great benchmark, a great way to attribute value to a company. And I think we have definitely added ounces, and at an appropriate time in the future, we will be coming out with a new updated resource estimate. Look, I think our end buyer is going to be a miner. And I think a lot of those miners have the ability to calculate based on our drill data how many ounces that we are adding. So, resource estimates are time consuming and costly. And, based on our audience, not always completely necessary. So we want to be prudent and thoughtful on when we do them and how often we do them, but we will definitely be looking to do one at some point in the future.
Okay, that makes sense. And Shawn, it's interesting. I was reviewing our interview from, I believe it was November of 2022, shortly after you did the Homestake deal, and was interesting hearing about the drilling you were doing back then. And now here we are almost 2 years later. anything reflecting back on A, the deal itself, and B, what you've learned in the time since then?
Wow. Seems like a lifetime ago.
I hear you.
I was told by a miner recently that getting exposure to a district is important and how you start to understand things about the geology and you start to be able to do things more efficiently and better. And what what encouraged the team at Dolly Varden to go get Homestake was as we got to understand our own project, we started having some ideas on how we could apply that knowledge to the general area. So when we bought Homestake, we doubled our land package. We consolidated 163 square kilometer land package. And now we have this idea that there's this periodicity and there's repeating deposits every 1,400 meters. And what's really cool for me is as I look around the world, whether it's Mexico, whether it's up in the Yukon, this happens not only in the Kitsault Valley in BC, but it happens in different mining camps, right? The same idea, that same distance. So, to answer your question, yeah, look, we are learning so much about fingerprinting what makes the Dolly Varden mine special and where else on the land package we can also find those same indicators, whether in the case of silver, it might be an indicator like potassium. So where we're seeing sodium depletion and enriched potassium levels, there may be another silver deposit. And so we've got a bunch of tools at our disposal, geophysics, geochemistry, and we marry all these modern tools with something as simple as where do you have a silver vein? Where is it open for expansion and extension? Let's follow up and see if it keeps going.
Yeah, and along those lines, one of the things that I appreciated the email that you guys sent out recently, and you and I were talking about beforehand, and something that we've highlighted some of our past conversations is the way you run a team. Obviously, the team that's running any mining company is important, and that's one of the things that I've been impressed, especially in the time we've known each other. And you had an interesting story of the geologist who found this particular location, and perhaps you could share that with the audience today.
Yeah, listen, I'm surrounded by a board of directors and a team of advisors and a deep, strong team that have worked for the biggest mining companies on the planet. And I call them the gray hairs and the no hairs. And they're wonderful. But it was a young 30-year-old female geologist by the name of Amanda Bennett that came in. And she was just, one of these people that's extremely, motivated. She had some fire in her belly and she had some ideas. And she wanted to challenge this idea that, no one had ever in the 100-year history of the Dolly Varden project looked below the sedimentary cap. And Amanda said, look, why aren't we trying to chase this vein below the sediments? And, some in the team said, well, the geophysics don't penetrate it. The geochemistry doesn't penetrate. Essentially, we're going to drill blind. And, we got behind Amanda's idea because it's rare to have somebody who, often I've worked in corporations that have yes men cultures, right? And, it's rare to find somebody who's willing to challenge an idea, is willing to work hard. She went through a bunch of old historic data and was so focused on trying to find rooms and areas to grow. And so we drilled a few holes, and this goes back to 2021. And the discovery holes on the page there, it was 214 grams of silver over 17 and a half meters. I didn't really understand what was happening when it happened. We hit this hole. I didn't understand the implications of it, but that sedimentary cap extends for another 5 kilometers. And we now know that the host rock, the Jurassic age Hazelton Formation that hosts the high-grade silver up at Dolly Varden persists below the sedimentary cap. So the implications to that one drill hole have been huge. We now have 1 kilometer of strike length. So I just, my hat's off to Amanda and her dog here, Tonks, who, Tonks is,
He's darn cute. He's darn cute.
he is, she is, Tonks is, she is darn cute. And she, we gave her Employee of the Month in July because, all the silver that she's finding. And we even, I think you've got one of these, Chris. We've got a little Tonks, Dolly Varden Tonks character here. And, if any of your followers want one of these, let us know and we'll get one out to you. But, no, look,
I hope you gave Tux one of those.
Um, but no, listen, I'm so lucky to be surrounded by a team, whether it's on the technical side or whether it's on the business side, where everyone is just, they love the process. They love the process. And it's we got a good team here, and we're finding more. We got a great project. We got great shareholders. These are the things you need to be successful, right? You need to have the people, right? The project and the money. And the shareholders have been supportive. The team's been great, and the project's been delivering. And as we've seen the silver price rise up by about 50% in the last 12 months, the share price has doubled. And that's where silver equities outshine the physical, right? And we've seen this disconnect between commodity prices, metal prices, bullion prices, and equities. We've seen that disconnect where historically, silver, as we move into a more mature market and as we break out through 30, through 40, through 50 and beyond, you're going to see these equities really go on a tear. And Chris, the last time we were together, you talked about, inflation adjusted silver,
Yeah.
$73 silver. And that's my new target. And I credit you with that number.
Well, it is interesting. Just this morning, I was seeing a new Bank of America report where, again, they're writing to their institutional clients about the deficits, also deficits in the context of declining inventories. So when you look at the things going on in the world, I think the things that you're doing are quite well timed for this environment. And like I've mentioned before, I think your ability to bring talented people on and communicate well is one of your strengths, and really nice to see that is serving you well. And Shawn, I know we have a lot of Dolly Varden fans in our audience. Anything else that you would like to leave them with today or share before we wrap up? And perhaps you could also let people know how they could contact you as well.
Well, a smart man told me that what Dolly Varden is it's size meets grade in a safe jurisdiction. And for any of you who don't know, Chris, that's Chris's tagline for us. But it's the truth. And
Putting that on my marketing copy resume. I thought that, I mean, it matches what you're doing though. And to the degree of the people who are looking for that type of profile, I think it really does fit well for what you've put together.
listen, it's so hard to find a company that is growing its silver inventory. I find, first of all, silver is rare. We're talking about there was an article on August 6th, so about a week ago, from the Jerusalem Post that talked about industry consuming all of mine supply, just industry. So if there is any investment demand, and I think there'll be some from you and there'll be some from me, and if there's any other investment demand, well, that should send silver prices a lot higher. And I believe that the two spike highs that we saw, 1980, 2011, I don't believe they were on the back of industry. I think that was investment demand and speculation. And if we get a little bit of that into the system here, where are silver prices going to go? And I think they're poised to go a lot higher. Chris, give me a BHAG. We have this term in house where it's called a big, hairy, audacious goal. Give me a BHAG for silver. Between me and you, where could silver go? If
Uh,
all the conditions, you see the setup right now, and you're buddies with all the big silver guys. You talk to all of them, right? Andy Scheckman, Keith Neumeyer. You know all these guys. You talk to the miners, you talk to the guys who are selling this stuff. They all trust you. We all support you. If everything lines up the way we think it could, I know what silver is today. What could it be in the future? How far could this thing go?
well, that's a lot of ifs in there. I mean, maybe if I could offer my response here, if we do get to the point, and in fact, I was just sent a report from Peter Kraut this morning. I believe it was from TD Securities, and they were calculating based on current inventories and current deficit how much longer we go. If you do have that event, if we do get to that point, just to be clear, we're not there, and I'm not saying this would happen tomorrow, but that certainly, I mean, we've seen in the cocoa market what happens in that type of environment. I do see an environment where we do eventually have $50 plus silver when you add all of the different things, let alone what the cost of mining will be 10 or 20 years from now. But yeah, I don't want to give people the idea that silver is going to 50 or 100 tomorrow, but certainly you have dynamics, add in the whole investment side and the shift that we're already seeing in the world towards gold. I wonder if you think about how people are viewing gold now, which is different from how the world was viewing gold 5 or 10 years ago. So is it conceivable that that shifts into silver? So
Let
yeah,
me ask you in a different way. Let me ask you in a different way here.
sure.
Forget a price target. I'm going to stay away from there. So my question to you is this: what's an appropriate silver to gold ratio?
Silver to gold ratio. I mean, I could see getting down to the 40s. I can see the arguments that are made for getting down to somewhere in terms of what's actually being mined out of the ground. Certainly a lot lower than where we're at today, 75, 80 to 1.
So I think we're at 90 to 1 today. And if we're talking 40 to 1, that's a $62 silver price. Okay. Um, if we get down to where they're mining, I won't go that far. But if we got even within 30% of that, we're talking about $250 silver. So I'll leave it there.
I will enjoy dreaming about it tonight. And yeah, I mean, certainly when you look at the overall profile and over a longer period of time, and then consider that there are certain outcomes that could see substantial jumps. So try to be careful of what I promise, but I think what you're saying is something worth keeping in mind as people take a look at these things going forward. And Shawn, perhaps just before we wrap up, you can let folks know how they can find you if they'd like to get in contact and talk about silver projections or drilling results or anything else. What is the best way to find you guys?
So we've got a website, dollyvardensilver.com. We've got a toll-free number, 800-321-8564. We're on X at Silver Varden. Email us, info@dollyvarden.com. Just like we have a team of scientists, we have a team on the communication side, and happy to talk to shareholders.
Well,
And just talk about silver or other companies as well.
Well, I appreciate that, Shawn. And again, congratulations on the results and the progress as a company. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to follow, especially as we see what happens. Rate cuts on the way, I hear. So should be an interesting couple of months. And again, appreciate you making some time today, my friend.
Likewise, Chris. Thank you so much.